Do you feel like you understand what your rights are related to employment? Would you like to hear more about them? Okay. And so that's one thing that we have federal agencies here that have not, been here. Maybe this is the first time you've had the opportunity to learn some of these things. And so I don't want you to miss out on that opportunity if that's something you're interested in. Because many times we found that people's awareness of their rights is one of the most critical lessons that needs to be imparted. That way you know when they're being violated.
Suzanne, if somebody would summarize the concerns that the community has, I mean, we've told them who we are and what our areas are, but can we get some sense of the specific concerns that the community has so that we can kind of target in on how we might be able to help?
I'd be glad to answer those questions. Starting with number one, we're looking at public corruption. Public corruption specifically in McIntosh County concerning specific people, as we have documentation of factual basis of public corruption. We're talking about the tax commissioner and the allowability of a tax to be sent to a corporation out of McIntosh County, of a family member's land here on Sapelo. We officially asked that tax commissioner, are you officially allowing this tax bill to be sent to this corporation? As of 2 weeks ago, the tax commissioner has now put the ownership name back into the family member's property here on Sapelo Island. Public corruption. Superior City Court Judge Robert Russell is here on the island building illegally and obtaining lands illegally because of his position in the Superior Court. Public corruption, the tax assessor. If we're talking about land value assessment, my land value, as well as my father's and everyone that you see sitting here in this room in McIntosh County resident that pays taxes, has been increased, if you use my numbers, from $174,000 as a land value assessment last year to $910,333 as a land value assessment this year. It's happening along the coast and we know it. And the way that you run the people off the land on an economic basis is the tax amount, public corruption. Dealing with public corruption on the tax assessor one more time in conjunction, collusion, and conspiracy with the Department of Natural Resources. They allowed 33.33 acres of Raccoon Bluff land to go in the name of a private citizen who is Caucasian named Ray Abrams. County commissioner that's sitting in this room can validate what I'm about to tell you. They have been doing land with Ray Abrams, stealing land on Sapelo Island under the land gouging understanding for years. The tax assessor was asked on an official communication, are you allowing this private citizen to own this land in Raccoon Bluff of 33.33 acres? We then hit the Department of Natural Resources, David Nixon, and asked him as the WRD, Wildlife Resource Division Manager, are you officially allowing this land to be owned after it's being claimed by the Sapelo Island Heritage Authority, which is being governed and chaired by the governor of the state, who then has members on that authority, being the State Properties Commission. Who else?
The Department of Natural Resources Commissioner. And then
we have 2 island members, my uncle Benjamin Hall being one, and our family member Tracy Walker being another.
Now, I remember that issue when you came to visit me, and after you left, we did some research. Some of those issues that you raised have already been in litigation, haven't they?
I mean, not the issues that I'm raising, sir.
The issues about the DNR and the governor's chairmanship over that council and the right to those land. Hadn't there been lawsuits filed by the community and all that?
No, sir. dealing with is the tax assessor and the Department of Natural Resources. Upon being asked that question on Tuesday, the tax assessor then changed the ownership name to the Department of Natural Resources / Sapelo Island Heritage Authority, because there's not much difference in state entities. And the very next day says, well, I had my girl check it out in writing on email, and they transferred it without a land survey, without an understanding of how do you transfer land from one entity to another without a sale price.
Do you have a board of tax assessors here?
Yes, we do.
Who serves on that?
Oh, would you have me know who serves on that right now? Board of Tax Assessors.
No, I don't even think I can get it. Tax assessor. What was the question again?
Do you happen to know the names of the board members on the tax assessor's office?
No, not covered.
Paul Griffin is the chairman.
But are you contending that the tax commission is acting beyond the scope of what the board allows them to do?
I don't know what the board allows them to do, but what I'm contending is that they do pretty much anything they want, because when you take a family member's name off the ownership title and you place a corporation that's building on the island illegally, and I use illegally because there is a district intent in McIntosh County, Sapelo Island. That's under section 515. It states that you cannot build above a certain square feet, that you cannot build above a certain height. Well, all of that is being thrown out of the water by the other partner in the collusion and conspiracy, which I'm putting under the racketeering efforts, known as the Building, Zoning, and Ordinance Department, Melvin Emerson. Melvin Emerson gave these permits to build these illegal structures on this island outside of district intent. As we're dealing with civil rights, discrimination by McIntosh County government, McIntosh County Board of Commissioners, McIntosh County Sheriff's Office. Under those we're looking at, under the Sheriff's Office, a great deal of racial profiling, and we had a great conversation on that last night, which I'm sure the Commissioner will be glad to talk about. False and unwarranted arrests, complete harassment of African American men, and I say complete from the time you get into the county until the time you get out of the county. McIntosh County City of Darien manager. Now here we are dealing with what I understand. If the position was opened up for the county manager, it had to be posted. Am I correct about that, Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
But because they didn't post it, they held the McIntosh County manager / Darien manager in the same position. Again, if that position came open, it had to be posted for someone else to be in that position. To continue, McIntosh County Tax Commissioner, we just spoke about that. McIntosh County Tax Assessor, and under, again, discrimination, as I understand it, is about race, creed, origin, or religion.
Right.
What we understand on the discrimination side of the Superior City Court judge is that he is doing business out of the county courthouses using his secretary, who is a McIntosh County secretary named Cindy Wolf. She is on all of his LLCs with full power of attorney. And I have family members who have gone in and done business with Judge Russell outside of court understanding about land. Am I correct? In the county courthouse. We're talking to the United States Department of Labor and Wages on our division. Discriminatory in work practices. We have a number of family members that have been fired outside of what we understand legal firing means. We understand that based upon the color of their skin, jobs on Sapelo cannot be gotten. They have a visitor center on the other side on the mainland that was scheduled to be put on Sapelo. Misappropriating the funding of that visitor center per the writing, we're building this center on Sapelo. Well, if you build a center on Sapelo, you got to give a few more jobs. That means we're here for a little bit longer. When we start talking to the United States Equal Opportunity Commission, and Equal Opportunity Employment Commission, we know that there's a monopoly on the phone company, on the cable services, and on our internet services. And that monopoly is being run by Darien Phone Company. But when you look into the Darien Phone Company, out of however many 100+ employees they have, you'll find that the minority is few and far between. We think it's 3. When we talk about EEOC, we need to talk about Georgia Power. As our investigation, research, and data collection has shown, Georgia Power is way under what we know as fair, equal employment opportunity. We'll also talk about
What do you mean by that?
the numbers show that the African Americans within Georgia Power are so substandard in the level of work. There's not many managerial positions. There's not much growth for an African American within Georgia Power to say, I'm going to use this as my retirement job.
Yeah,
And then, sir.
I understand what you're doing.
Yes, sir. And if we talk about pay, on Sapelo Island, there are pay grades that are had by our family members in the jobs through the Department of Natural Resources. Well, through our research, the pay grades that are here on this island that have the same job title description on the mainland, let's just talk about our comparative of Butler Island. The mechanics are getting paid less than everybody else. The housing staff, as we know, as hospitality staff, is getting paid less than everybody else. There's not one managerial position on Sapelo through the Department of Natural Resources for an African American. Our jobs still are in servitude. When we start talking to the Environmental Protection Agency, we're looking at what we call the lack of the quality of life. Culverts falling in, taking away our cultural roles. Sewage doesn't exist. Drainage ditches, they don't drain. They're infestation for mosquito and whatever poisonous infections. The water quality. Well, since 2009, I've been talking to the Department of Natural Resources, who I see is remiss in being here today, about our water system. Well, as of 3 months ago, they're now installing a new water tank, water lines, because what you have to understand is our sulfur content is so high, even if we wanted to drink the water. But let's talk about showering. You're talking about, and maybe I'm half sick. I come here and my skin's horrible. But I put a stainless steel shower rack in our shower to track how long it would take before it's totally corroded. Less than 1 year. If we talk about waste disposal and the trash dump, if you look out here to this pad where this fire truck sit, it was scheduled to have what is known as a trash compactor. So the county came and built the pad without informing the minority county commissioner, minority in politics of being a Democrat and minority in color. Built this pad to set a trash compactor 25 feet away where we feed our family members. Well, we sat in this room, and I'm not quite sure if it was stopped yet, because nobody sent out the paperwork to know we're not going to put that there, but I see someone conveniently poured the pads and now allowed the truck to come up there. So that tells me maybe that's the new parking pad for the old new fire truck. So let's talk about the fire system. Our fire suppression system on Sapelo does not exist. This community darn near burnt down. Of course, I was blamed for arson because I had a fire permit to say I'm doing a controlled fire. But